Welcome to the Win Streaks preview and predictions of all 32 NFL teams for the upcoming 2017 season. Over the next few weeks, I will be covering all 32 teams, so please subscribe on YouTube or the podcast platform you're listening on so you don't miss an episode. My name is Corey Foister. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Corey Foister. Follow the show on Twitter at Win Streak News, Facebook.com/TheWinStreak, TheWinStreak.com. Leave a review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're listening on, or subscribe on our YouTube channel, Soaring Jets Production. Contact us at soaringJetsProductions@gmail.com. Please join our Fantasy Football League. We have more information about that on our Facebook page and on our Twitter and Facebook and official website. If this is the first time you have listened to anything that the Win Streak has done, once again, my name is Corey Foister. I usually have my co-host here for a weekly wrap-up show. Me and Brandon does a weekly wrap-up show, and then I do like one or two other shows. We do top 10. We've just released another top 10 episode. It's the top 10 Super Bowl matchups we want this year. Moving on to the 2017 New York Jets. The New York Jets preview and prediction. This is New York's 58th season in the NFL. The franchise is tanking this season in hopes of finally finding a franchise quarterback. And as a fan of the New York Jets, we definitely need a franchise quarterback because we haven't had one, you could argue, since Joe Namath. I mean, O'Brien, he was a pretty good quarterback. I would have preferred to have Dan Marino. We'll get to that a little bit later. Mark Sanchez had his moments. Chad Pennington wasn't bad. Vinny Testaverde, we almost won. We almost at least went to a Super Bowl with Vinny Testaverde in 1998. Sadly, the following year he had that leg injury and just, the same old Jets over and over, torture and more torture. The New York Jets are on a 6-year playoff drought. Last playoff appearance was in 2010 in the AFC Championship games against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jets made back-to-back AFC Championship appearances, the first time against the Indianapolis Colts and the second time against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both, as a Jets fan, heartbreaking losses, but nothing was as heartbreaking as losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Third year for head coach Todd Bowles and general manager Mike McCannon. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Jets finished last in the AFC East, 14th in the AFC, and 26th in the NFL. In 2015, the Jets failed to make the playoff with a Week 17 loss in Buffalo. Another extremely painful game to watch if you're a Jets fan. At 10-6 record, Jets finished the season as the league's only team with a winning record not to make the playoffs. And that 2015 schedule was just ridiculous. The Jets opened up their first 7 games were all against playoff teams, and most of them was on the road. They had to go on the road to Arizona and then to the Patriots. It was just a nightmare of a schedule. The schedulers who made that schedule must have hated the Jets, and yet they still got 10 wins with Ryan Fitzpatrick as quarterback. So what a missed opportunity by the Jets in 2015. Now, in 2016, the Jets failed to improve and posted a 5-11 record. Only quality team that the Jets beat last season was the Baltimore Ravens. That was a really great performance by the Jets. My co-host Brandon is a huge Baltimore Ravens fan, so I take a lot of pride in seeing my Jets beat the Baltimore Ravens. Also, they beat the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. They beat the 49ers in San Francisco, and they swept the Buffalo Bills, making Rex Ryan's life just a little bit more miserable than it already is. The New York Jets had one lone Pro Bowler in 2016. That is Leonard Williams, Big Cat. Big Cat made the Pro Bowl for the Jets last year. Jets only won 2 games at home, 3 on the road. The owner is Woody Johnson. Most Jets fans would argue he is one of the worst owners in the NFL. And I would agree. I personally think that Woody Johnson, since he bought the team in 2001, the Jets have only won a division one time, and that's in 2002. Yeah, you can say, Tom Brady, the Patriots have a dynasty going, but Woody Johnson has not done really anything for the Jets. Yeah, you got Brett Favre, that Brett Favre signing in 2008. But other than that, and of course you had Rex Ryan, you had the 2009, 2010 playoff appearances. But Woody Johnson has been the owner of the Jets for about 20 years, and he has absolutely almost nothing to show for it. One of the worst owners. I would almost argue the worst owner in the NFL. But the good news is Donald Trump nominated Woody Johnson to be ambassador to the United Kingdom. He won't sell the team, but he will no longer deal with day-to-day operation. Apparently, he is going to hand off the day-to-day operation to his brother. So hopefully his brother is a lot better at football than he is. Under Woody Johnson's ownership, the Jets have won the AFC East, like I said, only once in 2002. The Jets are ranked the number 6 most valuable team in the NFL by Forbes, which is impressive because the Jets have been a tire fire, sadly, here for a lot of years. Outside of those 2 good seasons by Rex Ryan, and maybe you could lump in that third year when they went 8-8. The Jets have been, I mean, let's be honest, the biggest thing they've been known for is dysfunction, a circus. You had Tebow, you had, oh God, I don't even want to think about it, the butt fumble, and you had Geno Smith just being a awful quarterback. So pretty impressive that the Jets are the 6th most valuable franchise in the NFL, despite all the shortcoming and awfulness that follows this franchise around. The Jets have made 4 AFC championship appearances, but have never won it. Like I said, 2010, 2009, 1998, and I believe 1981 against the Miami Dolphins. They did, however, win the 1968 AFL Championship, and they would go on to win Super Bowl III against the Baltimore Colts. Joe Namath guaranteed that victory and would win MVP of Super Bowl III. The Jets are the first AFC team to win a Super Bowl, 4 division championships in their entire history: 1968, 1969, 1998, I should say, and 2002. So only 4 division championships. The Patriots have won the last 4 AFC East titles, so that just highlights how Joe Namath is the biggest name player to ever play on the Jet. You got Curtis Martin, you got Maynard, but Joe Namath has always been the face of the franchise. Overall, 14 playoff appearances, last one being 2010. The Jets' biggest franchise what if, I have here drafting Dan Marino in the 1983 NFL draft over Ken O'Brien. And like I said, Ken O'Brien, he was a Pro Bowler. I believe he went to 2 or 3 Pro Bowls back in the 80s. But let's be honest, he was no Dan Marino. The Dolphins selected Dan Marino 4 or 5 picks after the Jets drafted Ken O'Brien. And the Jets' best franchise move is signing Joe Namath and hiring Weeb Ewbank as head coach. They would go on to win the Jets' lone Super Bowl and only Super Bowl appearance and only championship win. So it would have been interesting to see what would have happened to the Jets if they would have got Dan Marino, because the Dolphins, well, I guess they would have probably got Ken O'Brien, and, I'd take Dan Marino over Ken O'Brien any day of the week. Going on to 2017 predictions and outlook. Todd Bowles, head coach of the New York Jets, he is definitely on the hot seat. He might be the fall guy for a ugly season the Jets will have. He hasn't been a stellar head coach. There's been a lot of problems. All you have to do is turn on, I'm a big fan of WFAN sports radio up there in New York. All you have to do is turn on the station, and Jet fans are not happy. The hosts that do all these shows are not happy. Everybody is calling for Todd Bowles' head from last season. This is only going to get worse because this season looks like it's going to be way worse than the 5-11 season they had last year. The Jets might have the league's worst quarterback situation. You got Josh McCown. He was brought in this offseason. Like I said, Josh McCown at best is a decent game manager. He's not going to pop out. He's not going to be no franchise guy. Bryce Petty was pretty much well, what was it? He took over as starter about week 7, week 8 over Ryan Fitzpatrick. Bryce Petty is a mediocre kind of so-so quarterback at best, and that's saying it nicely. I don't think the Jets have much with Bryce Petty. Bryce Petty is better than Geno Smith. The only way this could be a worse quarterback situation, if you still had Geno Smith on the roster. So Bryce Petty is better than Geno Smith, but that's not saying much at all. And they have second-year quarterback Christian Hackenberg, who some question if he can even complete a pass. All horrible options. I would look at Petty and Hackenberg. You have to at least start Hackenberg for 2-3 games. I'm sorry, but you gave up your second round draft pick, a high second round draft pick, to get Christian Hackenberg. You're not going to get away with just letting Christian Hackenberg ride the pine yet another season. I want to see what Christian Hackenberg is. I think so far everybody assumes he's bad. He doesn't look good in training camps so far, or the mini camps they had, but probably in a few weeks here when training camps start, he's not going to look probably good in those, but let him play in, a few regular season NFL games and see what he does, because we have to assess the quarterbacks that we have on the roster now before we draft Sam Darnold, because who knows, maybe Christian Hackenberg, some weird thing happened and he's actually somewhat decent, but all bad quarterback option. Biggest positive change, Jets signing cornerback Morris Claiborne from the Dallas Cowboys. He is a former top 10 pick. Jets needed help in the secondary after cutting so many big names on defense. So that's the one lone bright spot I can see from the Jets offseason move. Like I said, they tore down their complete roster, so there's not a lot to say. I like Matt Forte. Matt Forte, their running back. I have to feel kind of sorry for him because they're going through a rebuild. And here he came from the Bears thinking, okay, I'm going to be on a competitive team. And now the Bears might be more competitive than the Jets. And that's just by a slim margin. The Jets and the Bears are both going to be terrible this year. Biggest negative change. Where do you want to begin? It was basically the purge of the NFL. They purged most veterans and players with any talent off the team. Look, center Nick Mangold is gone, a great Pro Bowl center for the Jets that had been there forever since the Eric Mangini days. He is gone. You got Ryan Clady. You got Darrelle Revis are both gone. Revis Island is now shut down for good. Revis Island might not even play a snap this year, and the Jets are going to be stuck with that $6 million they have to pay him if no other team signs him. You had at one time ESPN called the best wide receiver combo. Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker won't be catching passes for the Jets this year. Brandon Marshall was cut first. He went over to the New York Giants. The New York Giants, I say that is a good move by the Giants. And Eric Decker is going down to Tennessee. Tennessee, I personally think, is a sleeper team this year. I really like what the Tennessee Titans are doing. But in the Jets also, let's be honest, out of all the cuts they made, Jets cutting David Harris, that was dirty. They should have cut him back in March, not cut him in, what was that, mid-June. That was completely dirty because he's going to be in the Ring of Honor. He is one of the best Jets to ever take the field, and that says a lot because there hasn't been that too many good Jets player, but David Harris deserved a lot better. And when I saw, as a Jets fan, when he signed with the New England Patriots, I wasn't shocked at all. I wasn't mad because, well, payback's a bitch, and that's what he did. He's getting back at the, not Jets fans, but the Jets organization for doing a real low ball move. So to David Harris, I'm sorry that the Jets did that. Jets fans still love you, and even though we're rooting against the Patriots, we're at least rooting for you to do good on the Patriots. Jets are aiming for the first overall pick. The favorite is currently Sam Darnold of USC, that is University of Southern California. Also, Jets will be another year closer to having Tom Brady-less AFC East, so you have to be somewhat happy about that. If there is some light at the end of a probably long tunnel, is that Tom Brady is another year removed from finally retiring from the NFL, but the Jets are going to have to rebuild and get a competitive team, and you got to hope that there's a surefire first round overall pick that everybody wants, and that the Jets get that pick, and there's no question like, oh, is it going to, like last real like surefire quarterback was Andrew Luck. But even then, some people was like, maybe RG3 is better. Obviously, we know who was the better pick. You had Peyton Manning was surefire, about the same time you had Ryan Leaf. So, as a Jets fan, I hope Sam Darnold he plays his brains out, just amazing, and there's no question. Well, hopefully he also declares for the NFL draft, because Peyton Manning avoided the New York Jets, stayed in college another year so he would avoid playing for the New York Jets. So hopefully Sam Darnold declares for the draft this year and he plays just amazing. But there's a couple other options, a quarterback from Wyoming, from UCLA, but personally to me, I like Sam Darnold. He is the favorite also to win Heisman. Like I said, you have to fill for Matt Forte, an old veteran on a team that is rebuilding. I like Matt Forte. I kind of wish the Jets would just cut him so he could go play somewhere and possibly win a ring. Matt Forte would be a good pickup, right across the stadium, the other locker room for the New York Giants. Jets should spend years seeing what they got in Christian Hackenberg. That's the biggest point I would like to make with this 2017 season preview. Going on to the schedule and my game-by-game prediction, the preseason, the Jets play at home against the Titans, at Lions, at Giants, which is basically a home game. They're just playing with their away uniforms, and home against the Eagles. So they only have to travel one game to play in Detroit. Moving on to the regular season. Regular season opens up on September 10th at Buffalo. You got the Buffalo Bills, which I say worst case scenario, you lose that game. Best case scenario, you beat the Bills, because the Jets swept the Bills last season, and the Jets were awful last season. Week 2, September 17th, at Oakland, you're not winning that game. The Jets are not winning that game at Oakland. That is a loss. Best case, worst case scenario, that is a loss. September 24th, week 3, you play the Miami Dolphins. I believe best case, worst case, that is a loss also. For September, at Bills, at Raiders, and home against the Dolphins. Worst case scenario, you are 0-3. Best case scenario, you are 1-2. Moving to October 1st against the Jaguars at home. I say best case, worst case, you win that game. October 8th at Cleveland. Worst case, you lose that game. Best case, you win that game. October 15th, home against the New England Patriots. Best and worst case scenario, you are losing to the Patriots. But the Jets, they have been known to make it interesting against the Patriots when the Jets are not pegged to win the game, and when it usually should be a blowout, it turns out not to be a blowout. When it should be a close game, it turns out to be a blowout. That's just how the Jets play. October 22nd at Miami. I say best case, worst case, you're losing that. October 29th, home against the Atlanta Falcons. best and worst, I say you lose that. So I think you end October on a guaranteed 3-game losing streak against the Patriots, Dolphins, and Falcons. Best case scenario, you go into November 3-5. Worst case scenario, you go into September 1-7. Moving on to November, you play the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football at home, November 2nd. I say best case, worst case scenario, you'll win that game. You'll win that game because, like I said, you'll be on a 3-game losing streak. The Jets have swept the Bills before. The Bills are not going. I think overall the Bills are going to have a better record than the New York Jets, but I think the Jets can beat the Buffalo Bills. November 12th at Buccaneers. Buccaneers, I believe, are another, well, probably not a sleeper team. A lot of people are hot on them. I'm hot on them as well. I say best case, worst case scenario, you lose that game. Then you have a bye, followed by November 26th, home against the Carolina Panthers. The best case scenario, I say you win that game. Worst case scenario, you lose that game. So you go into December, worst case scenario, you are 2-9. Best case scenario, absolutely best case scenario, you are 5-6. So December 3rd, December is going to be a tough month for the New York Jets. December 3rd, Chiefs, best case, worst case, I say you lose that game. December 10th at Broncos, I say best case, worst case, you're losing that game also. I honestly can't remember the last time that the New York Jets have beat the Denver Broncos in Denver. It's been, I know it's happened, but it's been a long time. It might have been like the 90s the last time the Jets beat the Broncos. Then December 17th at New Orleans, I say best case scenario, you win that game. Worst case scenario, worst case scenario, you lose that game. Best case scenario, you win that game. Chargers, I see the Chargers. I'm going to surprise people on this. The day before Christmas, the LA Chargers are going to lose against the New York Jets. Best and worst case scenario, I say the Jets will beat the Chargers. If anything else, it's just a Jet move to win a meaningless game and knock yourself out of getting the first overall pick, because let's be honest, it's the New York Jets. It's such a Jet move. The final game of the season, December 31st at Patriots in Foxborough. Best, worst case scenario, the Jets are going to lose that game. So I say, once again, Jets have one primetime game, Thursday Night Football, at home against the Buffalo Bills. Jets will win meaningless games to likely miss out on drafting Sam Darnold because that's the Jets. Worst case scenario, the Jets are 3-13. Best case scenario, and I do mean the best case scenario where they luck out, the ball has a weird bounce and they get it back, 7-9. 7-9. Probably I'm being too generous, probably more 6-10, but I'll give them 7-9 if just everything works out. If they can sweep the Bills, if they can beat the Jaguars, beat the Browns in Cleveland, surprise people and beat the Carolina Panthers, win in New Orleans, and beat the Chargers, I think they could get to 7 wins. But my final prediction, I say that the New York Jets are going to go 3-13. I say that they'll beat the Bills, they'll beat the Jaguars, and they'll beat the Chargers. They have an outside chance of maybe beating the Browns and possibly the Saints at home. But outside of that, I just don't see the Jets getting any other wins. It's going to be a tough season if you are a Jets fan, and I'm in that boat with you guys. So it's going to be a rough year to be a Jets fan, but hopefully the future is bright when Tom Brady leaves, but who knows, the backup quarterback for the Patriots might be the next Tom Brady in waiting. But this was my pre-2017 preview of the New York Jets. Join our fantasy football league. We do top 10 episodes. Please check them out. just released top 10 Super Bowl matchup we want to see. The Win Streak, you can follow us on Twitter at Win Streak News, Facebook.com/The Win Streak, TheWinStreak.com. Leave and subscribe a review on the podcast platform you're listening on. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Soaring Jets Production. Contact us at soaringjetsproduction@gmail.com. My name is Corey Foister. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Corey Foister. If, like I said, this is the first time you've ever listened to The Win Streak, please subscribe. We do weekly shows covering the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the NHL, all kinds of great fun. We do trivia. We read viewer mail. So please subscribe and check out the regular show. And stay tuned. I've already done the Cleveland Browns preview, so go back and check that out. The next episode I'm doing is the Los Angeles Chargers. So until next time, keep winning, everybody.